All right, guys, we have more content about Willard Smitherton, also known as Will Smith, also known as Won't Smith. Sorry, my chat said that. It was funny. Anyway, this is called White Outrage about Will Smith's slap is rooted in anti-blackness. It's inequality in plain sight. Incredible stuff. I cannot wait. This is by Teo. I hope I'm saying this correctly. Teo Burrow. I don't know. My inability to say that name is probably also rooted in anti-blackness. Let me zoom in. We do not condone violence. Assault is never the answer. These words have echoed through all of social media accounts since Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. Yeah, mostly because it's a lie. They do condone violence. I heard they said like a day or two later that like we tried to kick him out, bro, but he wouldn't leave. That's why the police exist. Well, I'm gonna look at that after this segment. Sorry. You can call the police, use your security to escort him out. You clearly did condone his violence. I doubt that you said anything, so shush. For making a poor taste joke about Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith. Now, I want to be very honest here. I feel like sometimes, this is the thing. Sometimes there are very simple answers, right? And sometimes the answer of like, hey, it was a comedian on stage should be enough for us to understand that it's a comedian on stage making a joke. Now, a lot of people say Papa Gut. Some people say Papa Gut. I don't even think they knew that Chris Rock knew about Jada's alopecia. You know what I think? I think he does. And then people go, well, that he's wrong. Why? If he knows about that, wouldn't he know about the interview she did where she said it doesn't bother her anymore that she has alopecia and she laughs about it? Oh my God. Incredible stuff. We're using our thinking skills today, guys. We're using our thinking skills. Okay? It was a joke, though. Chris Rock is paid to make jokes. He was asked there to make jokes. The Oscars are boring without jokes. Now, you didn't have to like the joke. It really wasn't that bad. He made fun of her being bald. From everything that I've looked into, alopecia, it sucks because women in general put a lot of value in their hair. Society puts a lot of value in the way that women look. But Jada also looks good. I mean, like, she doesn't even look bad. Not for nothing, but, like, really not for nothing. But she doesn't even, like, look bad. She doesn't have as much foundation as, like, a normal person. Because most people's heads don't look good bald. Hers does. I'm sorry. But anyway, regardless, she's allowed to be upset. That's totally fine. But smacking is a disproportionate response in any culture or society. It's still not in poor taste. I'm sorry. It's very annoying that we're doing this. It's incredibly annoying that we even have to sit here and have a conversation about this. But, you know, here we are. What I do want to say is that when it comes to activism for Black issues, this hurts activism for Black issues. It's a fringe group of people that are actually melting down about this issue. It says disability versus condition. What do you mean by that? I want you to elaborate because that was very interesting. But anyway, wow, what was I saying? Oh, right. It's a fringe group. Not a lot of people actually believe this, but this hurts Black activism because it's so preposterous that people tune out of general Black issues, right? Like, this is just not it's just not accurate. There's no way to actually derive an issue, a race issue from this, and I'm going to explain why. What's funny is people will be like, well, you just need to say the Black business instead of actually responding to what I'm saying. Isn't that so funny? Rather than engaging. But anyway, the joke referenced Pinkett Smith's shaved head, a decision she made due to her struggles with the autoimmune disease alopecia. Okay. And like, see, it is an autoimmune disease, but like I've dated people with autoimmune diseases, and this is by no means a struggle comparatively to like every other autoimmune disease. I'm not trying to be rude, but it seems like I don't know, it just feels like one of those things where people, like, they kind of, to an extent, want to be offended. I'm just saying. Most people agree the slap shouldn't have happened, of course, but there's something that feels precious at best and downright racist at worst about white people's reaction to the now infamous smack. Now, that doesn't make any sense because this is the thing. It was two people who had a conflict. It wasn't like, I understand Will Smith is Black, but that doesn't mean that Will Smith is only seen as a Black person. Like, it's almost racist to suggest that we should have looked at this situation through the lens of a Black person. Like, why? It was a guy who hit another guy on stage for doing his job. There's no reason to bring race into it because it's wholly irrelevant. And to say that white people can't have a perspective, like I can't have a perspective on it because they're black, but it's also wrong. And the entire situation was unhinged. He smacked Chris Rock for a joke, and then everybody applauded him, and he won an Oscar, and he cried, and he had a meltdown justifying what he did. He cried. He's like, God told me to do it. It was insane. To me, this is a class issue. To me, this is a class issue where a fucking rich guy got away with assault. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I look at the upper echelon rich people and I'm like, wow, there clearly is a fucking issue with the way that we treat rich people versus fucking everybody else. It's incredible. And it's baffling to me, and it's frustrating to me that we have to have this conversation this way. And if you want to look at this through a historical lens, like historically, what are like court jesters? Court jesters are people who it's their job to make jokes and criticize like the upper class in a satirical way. Like kings have had jesters in the room, and it's like one of those ways. Like people say that the jester is the only person who can actually speak the truth. And what we saw, Ricky Gervais did it last year, and Chris Rock was doing his fucking thing this year. And yet we don't seem to understand this very simple concept. So Mama got elaborated. I and some people in chat have seen other people defending Will Smith, saying that alopecia is a disability and gives them ground for feeling attacked. I just think that the word disability is loaded. A condition is something you experience, while disability impacts your functioning, in my opinion. I understand what you're saying. I mean, it does impact her making her bald, so she might be upset about that. But again, it's I feel like it's loading the situation. Like, oh my God, it's an autoimmune disability. Those are two adjectives that are true, but they're meant to it's loaded language meant to try to upplay the disability itself as absolutely as much as possible to justify the negative behavior. Feels downright okay. The Hollywood director told Judd Apatow declared in a deleted tweet that Smith could have killed Chris Rock. Well, that's obviously ridiculous, but okay. Calling it pure out-of-control rage and violence. Absolutely agree with that. Now, here's the thing. Maybe some black people would be... I think it was. Listen, H3H3 made a comment about how if you are that quick to violence in your everyday life, you are probably a violent person. I agree. Now, your response might be like, oh, you're just perpetuating the angry black man stereotype. No, I'm not. I'm looking at a person that is quick to violence. He has every right to be upset by the joke and every right to express him being upset about that. And if there is a cultural difference in the black community versus the white community of being more assertive when it comes to disrespecting women, that's totally fine. But we're 10 leagues past of the response. It's not like, let's just do a scenario. Let's just say, this is the argument in like a white culture, right? The white culture versus like a black culture thing. This situation, a typical white person in this culture, I guess, let's just say that they would have just taken it. Okay, they would have just taken it, even if they felt disrespected. And your argument's like, well, in the black community, this disrespect goes beyond this point of just taking it, and it goes to this point of like, oh, I would have yelled at the guy. That's fine, but this is the response Will Smith gave. It's all the way across the street. Okay, it's right up here. Like violence. This isn't acceptable. Like this is far beyond. Like you're allowed to have any response you want from here to here, right before this line. Okay, to right here. You have every right to have a response. Right? Let me scroll that down. But you don't get to have the violent response. That's it. We have multiple different cultures living in our society that like to do different things. That's simply it. And as long as they don't hurt other people, you're allowed to express your culture any way you want. And that's totally fine. However, we have strict societal standards, such as not inciting or committing violent acts. Everybody is held accountable to that. You asking me not to do that is you telling me to have lower standards for black people, which is racist. You're asking me to treat black people like a second-class citizen that has lowered standards for the way that they act and they behave. And sure, we can get into a conversation about systemic racism and all that causing whatever, but like this isn't a systemic racism conversation. This is like a potential cultural difference, but it doesn't mean that violence is okay. That's it. It's a really simple concept. The fact that we have to have hour-long conversations about this is insane. A bunch of privileged people and other people who want to weaponize their identity are having absolute meltdowns just so that they can pretend that there's a race issue here, but there's not. And it's causing people to tune out next time there is a race issue. You know what people think after this? Wow, I'm so tired of black people. I'm not. I don't think that, but I understand why people do. And it's not even any level of a majority of people like in the black community expressing this. It's a small number of black people. Most of them don't feel this way. Like, you know, you got other creators like Ab and Preach who are just like, yeah, it was unjustifiable. But the few people hurt the community by advocating like this. This isn't an issue. It's not an issue. So yeah, man. Listen, here we go here. So we have people in the chat justifying the behavior, and like okay, I don't care if Chris Rock was aware of the sensitivity. Again, that your argument doesn't matter. Well, Chris Rock is aware of the sensitivity of black women without their hair. Well, are you aware that she's made a publicly statement about how she jokes about it herself now, how she's fine with it? Oh, maybe he's aware of that too. Seems like a pretty smart guy. Wow, incredible stuff. You like all these like gaslight. It's literally you guys are doing too much. He made a whole documentary claiming his daughter's having problems with their hair, and image made him want to explore it further. It basically shaved and ridiculed black women. In it, he basically shaded and ridiculed black women for wearing wigs and weaves for other using. Okay, that's great. That doesn't really change anything. At the end of the day, I don't care about all that because the violence is just not acceptable. I don't know what to say. I don't. It feels like I'm gonna go fucking insane having these conversations with you guys about this. Apatow later confirmed he wasn't even watching the show when he made the remarks. The radio show host Howard Stern compared Smith to Donald Trump, while white women on Twitter somehow decided that Smith's actions meant he must be beating his wife. White women on Twitter? What? Is there... White people see a black man defend his wife's honor on TV and immediately jump to he must be beating his wife. Love will make you do crazy things was supposedly the reason to assault me once. Okay, well, Will Smith said that. That's something that abusers say. I love how we're clashing like fucking fake black issues, because this is not a black issue here. We're having an issue of black issues clashing with people that have experienced like domestic abuse, and somehow it's just white women complaining because black women don't experience domestic abuse. Of course, you just found the white women that were complaining. Black women face domestic abuse too. I texted this with a friend. Will Smith behaved like a narcissistic abuser. If he used that brazen in public on live TV, possessive of his wife, and unlikely he does not behave the same way towards his wife. Yeah, of course, if she displeased him. Okay, that's a completely rational and reasonable thing to say. I heard love will make you crazy. Love will make you do crazy things, and I flash back to the countless times I heard my abuser say the same thing. Whenever someone assaults me, someone else for talking about my wife, girlfriend, etc., it's always a bad sign about the mental health of the assaulter. It's almost a cliche and often ends with a husband assaulting his wife. It often started there and got normalized. There are so many, they were so comfortable acting like that in public. Yeah, these are all correct. This is of some fucking dumb fuck individual that doesn't have any concept of understanding of domestic abusers. It's probably why domestic abuse still happens, because every single time somebody fucking expresses their issues with like it's the telltale signs of a potential domestic abuser, you dismiss it saying, oh my God, you're this, or oh my God, you're that. Right now, you're using racism to justify like potential domestic abuse. Now, I don't think Will Smith's a domestic abuser. I think that Jada has effectively gaslit the shit out of him and just made him go fucking insane. But, you know, either way, jumping that quickly to violence is a problem. Now, yeah, is there a scenario where you can hit somebody for disrespecting your wife from a moral perspective? Oh, I agree. If I'm at like a bar and somebody says something about my wife and I say, you need to fucking knock it off or apologize, and then if they continue the behavior, I'll hit them. That's totally fine. But we didn't get there. He said a joke and then instantly went to violence. He made a joke, which was his job to make the joke on stream, on the stage. And then he said, oh, was that too much? I thought it was, he even kind of walked it back a bit. I believe he even said, I'm sorry right after it happened, because he knew maybe it was a little edgy. Either way, Smith's actions means being his wife. It would seem that there's a layer of hyper violence that's being projected onto Smith simply because he's a black man who's defending his black wife. Absolutely 100% incorrect. This is the telltale sign. This is one of the problems, right? Like, nobody's perpetuating the angry black man stereotype. You're using, like, that's a thing. I understand that there is an angry black man stereotype that comes from, like, you know, systemic racism, all that nonsense. Well, not nonsense, it's real. But this isn't what's happening here. You're using it as a shield to defend his actions. This is, if anybody was this quick to violence over defending their wife, there is a clear indicator of a problem. It's a clear indicator of a problem. It doesn't matter if you're black or Hispanic or whatever. If you instantly hit somebody for hitting your wife, you probably have anger issues. That's what's going on. That's the reality of the situation. It's nothing to do with being black. So, like, you need to knock it off. This exact energy would have been maintained across the board. If these were two white people who did it, at this point, I guarantee you the response, like, would have been, there would be nobody justifying it. That's all it is. There would be nobody justifying it. They would just be like, okay, they're just telling you. I don't know why you're so aggressive. What is it? What's your problem with what I'm saying? Just curious if you want to say what it is. While it's justifiable, important even, to interrogate his motives for delivering the slap, we don't really have to interrogate his motives. We just understand that that's something that an emotionally unstable person would do. Was this really all about defending his wife or more about his own ego? It was. I mean, I don't even care. It's just a disproportionate response. Like, you could defend your wife if you want. It's just not the correct response. Nobody is questioning whether it was defending his wife or not. I haven't seen a single person try to downplay the fact that Will Smith was defending his wife. And that's not even a speculative thing. Nobody said, I don't think he was really defending his wife. Everybody's just saying that it's too far. Everybody's like, yeah, you could have yelled at him or something, but hitting is too far. That's it. You're not even presenting you're not even displaying anybody's issue. It's clear that the backlash against Smith is rooted in not just anti-blackness, but respectability politics as well. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. It's also not just about what Will Smith did, it's where he did it and who was watching. Anybody who has been following these shows can see that Smith is being held to a much stricter standards than white men who have behaved just as badly or even worse in those settings. Now we're going to go back to 1973. That's your most recent example. If there was an exact same scenario at any period of time, it's still wrong. But 1973 was at 50 years ago. 50 years ago, like, that's not even close to the same area we are, like, culturally. What are you talking about? We've drastically changed in these 50 years. So this is really desperate. Also, Will Smith's not being held to stricter standards than white men. What I don't understand. Like, if somebody hits somebody on stage, they should get arrested. It's really that simple. It's crazy. Oh, you're just so fucking stupid. We've seen celebrities get into fights for trivial reasons. How many times are they labeled as an abuser? Listen, I know that this is really difficult for you to comprehend. Nobody's saying Will Smith is an abuser, but people are looking at his behavior, which was going quick to violence, and saying love makes you do crazy things, and they're having traumatic fucking flashbacks to the time that they were violently beat by domestic abusers. I don't know why you guys are so desperate to spin this as a fucking black issue that you don't give a shit about people who were violently beat by their fucking boyfriends. They're just like, hey, my boyfriend used to say I love you so much. Love makes you do crazy things. I'm going to beat the fuck out of you. How many thousands and thousands? You know how many people there are that are fucking domestic abusers and the police won't even take their fucking guns away even though they're not supposed to have guns, and then they get fucking shot later? Like, I don't really understand. Like, you guys are so fucking desperate to perpetuate this fucking issue as a black issue that you don't give a shit about people who are domestically abused, and you sit there in your fucking entitled space acting like you know fucking anything, but you're so desperate to be fucking woke that you don't give a shit about other people's experiences. You have a guy who hit another fucking person for a fucking joke on stage at the Oscars, and then some fucking people who the only ones that they showed were the white women that were complaining about their fucking domestic abuse. They didn't bother to talk about any of the black women who were like, hey, this reminds me of my domestic abuse. Really convenient that we're excluding the black perspective of black women being domestically abused just to perpetuate the stereotype or perpetuate this idea that it's white women are only the ones that are complaining, as if black men don't beat white women the same as white men beat black fucking white women. Like, you guys, what's the fucking argument here? Hey, let's pretend that where's the representation of these black women who were abused, who heard the same fucking thing about how much I love you? It made me do such a crazy thing. Why is that not there? Oh, it's awfully convenient that now that we want to push a bullshit fucking narrative about racism, we stopped giving a fuck about women that are getting beaten. You care more about fake black fucking issues than women getting fucking abused. How does that make you feel? How do you think you're gonna sleep tonight knowing that you're justifying abuse at women so that you can feel virtuous about the fucking Oscars, where rich people who are held to different standards than the rest of us get away with fucking hitting somebody? I don't understand. If you did that at all to anybody else, you'd be arrested. I'd be arrested. You just don't give a fuck that they're, oh, well, it's a black rich person, so it's okay that they hit somebody? Are you fucking stupid? What goes through your fucking head? I don't understand. To me, this is a massive issue at the way that fucking celebrities are treated. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. We treat them like they're fucking kings and queens and heroes, as if you're watching, like, just because it's on TV doesn't make Chris Rock and Will Smith not people. Like, what do you think? How do you think the world works? Do you think that they're fucking robots for our entertainment that are created to make these fantasy scenarios so that we can sit down and have something to talk about for fucking 3 days? How do you look at life? What happened in your life to make you so fucking void of common sense and just generalized understanding? Why do you look at celebrities as if they're an upper class of people that are better than everybody else? Like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Why do you look through life in this dumb fuck filter? Why are you so fucking stupid? Every fucking person doing this shit. God damn it. It's so fucking annoying. Like, you guys want to be, please be sensitive to black issues. But then, like, we're fucking just, like, trash of, like, women domestic abuse issues every single time. It's fucking like, oh, this is justifiable. Suck my fucking dick. It's so fucking annoying. You guys are so fucking childish. You don't give a fuck about anybody else. You give a fuck about what makes you feel like a fucking virtuous person. Like, you sit down, you woke up, and you said, I don't have fucking critical thought every single day, so I'm gonna look at everything through one fucking lens. Every fucking day. And then you go and you bitch about some fucking issue. You have no idea what the fuck you're even talking about. What do you do all day? Why insert yourself into a fucking, like, a nuanced conversation if you're not going to bring any nuance to the table? What's the point of fucking why? Why do you do anything? Wake up, eat, go to work, come home, and go to sleep, and don't think, because that's how you're fucking acting. Don't insert yourself into conversations that you don't know fucking anything about. It's incredible. Like, you have the brain capacity only to have a conversation about one thing at a time. Your fucking brain's gonna fry out. God forbid we talk about fucking intersectional issues, which is basically what we're doing right now, because we're contrasting black issues and white issues and issues of domestic fucking violence and abuse. And you come in here like, what authority? What do you do all day that makes you feel like you understand this situation? I'd love to know. What's your everyday life like? You're probably still in fucking high school, and you're just mimicking whatever fucking social justice narrative goes on. Because it's easy for you. Because you live an easy life of privilege. You're not advocating for a black issue. You're making yourself feel better as a person. And I'm so tired of every fucking time we talk about this, some stupid asshole has to come in the chat and say the same dumb fucking thing over and over again, and I have to explain to you. Like, I'm held to this standard where I have to sit down and be like, well, you have to understand. Fuck you, bro. I'm so tired of it. Don't come into my channel. Go watch the other videos that I have out there. Like, why come into my channel today? What was it about today that made you feel like this is the only thing you're ever going to watch from me? It's fucking incredible. It's incredible stuff. I couldn't be me. I honestly, I don't know how I would feel if I was that fucking stupid. Jesus Christ. Yes, I know you're talking about Ethan's tweet. Ethan was right. Like, do you hate Ethan so fucking much that you just don't have the fucking capacity? Well, Ethan said that people who are quick to violence are violent people. Wow. What a hot take. Hey, guys, I hate Ethan so much, I'm a fucking idiot. Do you think that that's like a bad take? That somebody being quick to violence is not a violent person? It's not an unreasonable assumption. It's not an unreasonable assertion to say, I think if somebody's that quick to violence, they might be a violent person. Oh, God. Incredible stuff. It's incredible. God forbid Ethan's right for once, because we hate Ethan so much. Like, bro, you realize that you hate Ethan so much that everything else that's bullshit. Are you fucking retarded? I don't understand. Why is it bullshit to say that somebody that's quick to violence would be a violent person? Explain that to me. Explain that to me fundamentally. Explain to me how somebody who is very quick to violence couldn't possibly be a violent person. Can you explain that take to me? I would love to hear it. I would just love to hear that, because this is an incredible thing. This is I honestly don't know what it is. I couldn't because I have no fucking brain capacity. I don't know what. Just explain that to me, please. Please explain that to me. Jesus Christ. This is my Joker arc. This is my villain story. I'm sorry I said the pro gamer word. I'm sorry I said that word, because I really shouldn't be saying that. But Jesus Christ. It's incredible, dude. It's just an incredible thing. Maybe I'm too quick to violence, huh? Jesus Christ. I'm sorry for going off, but oh my God, it's so frustrating. You guys like really just look at these issues through like such a fucking simple warped lens. I mean, God damn it. God fucking damn it, bro. Anyway, in 1973, John Wayne had to be restrained by 6 security guards. Right off the bat, this is completely disanalogous. Not a single security guard touched Will Smith. Not a single security guard touched Will Smith. Again, not a single security guard touched Will Smith. So we've already established this is disanalogous. Anyway, in 1973, John Wayne had to be restrained. Incredible stuff. This is just not analogous. By 6 security guards when he tried to rush the stage to attack the Native American actor and activist Sacheen Littlefeather. Wow, that's really interesting that they restrained him. Isn't it so funny that your example of how this is racist? It's so interesting that like we're trying to set this idea that there's some kind of they use anti-blackness to be very specific. Now listen, I'm not going to play oppression Olympics, but indigenous Americans are comparably oppressed. Like if we looked at this in a fucking spectrum of oppression, indigenous Americans are comparatively oppressed just as much as black people. So you like how they use anti-blackness, and then they use an example of a white person trying to attack an indigenous person, and then that white person being restrained, and saying somehow this is analogous. It's not analogous. Littlefeather was on stage to accept the Best Actor award on behalf of Marlon Brando, who was boycotting the awards in protest of Hollywood's depictions of Native Americans. Wayne got to keep his award after the incident, but pending a review, Smith could very well have his Best Actor win revoked. First of all, they're not going to revoke it. Second of all, your best argument here is that they should have stopped Will Smith. Your best argument is to lay into it more and be like, hey, the security shouldn't have let... This is your only argument. Will Smith, the Oscars failed by even letting Will Smith go on stage. That's your best argument. And you know what? John Wayne should have lost his fucking award. How do you like that, asshole? Mind you, this is the same academy that gave Roman Polanski an award in Absentina after he pleaded guilty to a charge of unlawful sex with a minor and fled the country before he could be sentenced. Okay, that's horrible, but also I don't know the specifics around the scenario, but okay. Okay. Interesting. I mean, that's terrible, but we all know that, you know, the Oscars are full of sexual assault bullshit. I don't know the specifics, but okay. Not really. There's really no glaring double standard being presented here regardless. I also find it hard to believe that the same white audiences who consume violence against black people on screen to an almost fetishistic degree and are quite happy to have the Academy Award reward these gratuitously violent projects years after year are so distraught about an open palm slap. I don't understand. You really must live in a privileged world if you think that a violent movie where nobody actually gets hurt is comparable to an actual instance of somebody getting hit. We created laws for a reason. Those laws are meant to protect people. Will Smith broke a law. Okay? Now, I want you to understand this. I'm going to be as concise as I can. Movies aren't real. Movies are not a real thing. That's it. Now, is there a conversation to have about the way that we depict black people movies? Maybe. I mean, there's a conversation to have about the way that we depict slave movies. Almost every, especially like historically, almost every slave movie, it has a white person as the lead role in a movie about slavery. There are ones that don't do that, which are more recent. But historically, there are all these movies about slavery, and it takes the role of a white person. It takes the role of a white person who goes, oh man, I'm not that racist. I like black people. And white people get to live through that moment, and they get to go, see, I'm just like this guy who doesn't hate black people. I'm so virtuous. Yeah, that's something to call out. It's fucking bizarre. We really should have more black-centric movies about slavery. It makes more sense. But this is an example of weaponizing a real issue in the black community to fabricate a non-issue. This is a non-issue. There's no black issue here. Okay? Stop it. You're annoying. This is the kind of performative pearl clutching is only ever reserved for black men who mess up. Now, what's so funny is in this article just a little while ago, they said that in 1973 that he restrained a white guy from attacking an indigenous person. So, like, they had more energy. If anything, it sounds like they're treating Will Smith, a black man, as different than John Wayne, a white man. And they're treating Will Smith as if he's a fucking baby, I guess, that doesn't need to be restrained. I don't really know what it is. Why are we advocating for different standards for black and white people? We used to call it segregation. And we go, that's separate, but what is that? That's not even separate but equal. That's like separate but also unequal. It's fucking insane. Incredible that you want people to treat black people like a second class. Hey, oh, you're black and you did a bad thing. Well, you know what? You're off the hook. And I understand that we can have a conversation about systemic racism when it comes to other scenarios of like more violence in other communities due to like a history of that systemic racism and denial of opportunity and resources, 100%. And we could look at an instance of a black person doing something and saying, you know what, maybe we should offer an alternative solution, or maybe a lighter sentence, or maybe blah, 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 because of those issues that surround systemic racism. We could totally have that conversation. This isn't that conversation. This is not that. We're not there. This isn't anywhere near an issue of systemic racism. I find it interesting that we're willing to effectively have these conversations about these deep issues and then apply them to rich people. It's fucking crazy. I don't care. I honestly don't care about the TikTok of Chris Rock talking about how he might have autism. It doesn't matter. I saw that TikTok where Chris Rock's like, yeah, they didn't diagnose me with autism. I think he said Asperger's, but it's all under the same blanket now. They said I have something, but not quite that. It doesn't matter. Because now what we're doing is we're pretending that the opposition to the scenario, like these people, are justifiable in what they're saying. He doesn't need to have autism to make his behavior okay. The behavior he had was fine. He did an okay thing. He doesn't need to be autistic so for him to excuse what he did wrong, because he didn't do anything wrong. He made a joke, and Will Smith could have said, I don't like that joke, please don't make it again, but he didn't. And so that's what's going on. Okay? Anyway, but white outrage isn't the only problem. For black people who have been conditioned to constantly perform the most non-threatening versions of themselves in order to retain white approval, the image of the black man being violent in a space notorious for its overwhelming whiteness must have felt like an abomination. The ESPN commentator Stephen A. Smith lambasted the actor on Twitter for staining the greatest moment in his career before taking to a video to express his disappointment. Honestly, I'm flabbergasted that they allowed somebody to physically assault somebody and then get an award and accept the award and then make a speech. It's fucking incredible. No, this article's not saying black people are violent. They're saying that historically there is a stereotype that black men are violent, and that they're saying that in order to counteract the stereotype that black men are violent, Will Smith has to be even less violent than the status quo of violence in order to appear nonviolent. That's what they're trying to say. Isn't that crazy? That's what they're trying to say. They're saying that Will Smith was expected to be less violent than by the way, Stephen A. Smith is a fucking black guy. How funny is that? You like how they link every other person except for like fucking Stephen A. Smith or whatever? Or I guess they didn't link John Wayne, did they? They linked Roman Polanski. They linked a thing about John Wayne, about like what had happened, the incident. Anyway. But yeah, But that's not what happened. Everybody's expected not to hit people. Hot take. Holy fuck. It's the Black Hollywood equivalent of being dragged to a corner and told off by your parents for cutting up in your public and embarrassing... What? In public and embarrassing your family? Except Smith isn't a child, and the stakes here are much higher. Either way, it's clear that many people, even those in the community who mean well... Don't you like that? Look at this fucking... This is such condescending speech. This is incredible. All right. Either way, it's clear that many people, even those in the community who mean well, only find the incident to be objectionable because they hoped Will Smith would perform properly for white people in the space. Bro, Will Smith was expected to perform properly for everybody in the space. Hey, listen, I know that you're really offended that I called you out before. No, we're not. We're saying don't overprescribe the punishment. That's it. Will is wrong, but many people have done the same. Correct me and move on. Give me an example of anybody who's done the same, because this article hasn't done that. Are you unironically watching this and thinking that this article, like, corrected? This article didn't show us any analogous situation. They showed us a scenario where a white guy tried to attack an indigenous person and the fucking security stopped them. You're not making points. You don't have any defensible points. You're doubling down so hard because you're so wrong and you're embarrassed. That's all it is. You're embarrassed. And you won't listen to logic. Oh, we've never seen a person get in a fight before. I don't know how. I don't think that at this point I cannot communicate with you, because I don't think that you are here to have an actual conversation. I think that you're here to just antagonize me and pretend that you have a point. What a generalized thing. So we haven't seen people fight before? Oh, wow, you're right. I've seen so many people fight before. I've gotten into fights before. Oh, does that make it okay? Whoa. I mean, bro, you're embarrassing, and you're embarrassing yourself. You should feel really bad about yourself. I recommend having like a nice day. Maybe go to like an ice cream parlor. You are saying it's okay. Everything that you're saying it's okay while trying to have plausible deniability. I recommend that you go and maybe get a nice ice cream cone and like sit down on the couch and like watch one of your favorite shows and just decompress for a little bit and let everything I said sink in. And that's it. That's my best. That's the best thing I could tell you. But let's not forget why this all started in the first place. In case there was any confusion, alopecia is absolutely a disability. Okay, fantastic. That's true. But it doesn't really make you disabled. I know that you guys love to look at these things through the same lens, but to suggest that an autoimmune disease or a disability like alopecia is comparative to somebody that has like a fucking like spina bifida or something, where they can barely walk correctly. That's what you're doing. You're saying the word disability to bring it into the blanket of disability without having a nuanced conversation about how different disabilities can display themselves in different capacities. Like, yes, it's a disability. It's not, and like, yes, it's upsetting that she's bald and she's probably upset, but also she's on record saying that she's not upset about it anymore. But you're doing the most. And again, it doesn't matter, because the subtext of this argument is that the violence is acceptable. That's all it is. Nobody would be doing this if Will... Dude, what fucking blows the fucking shit through my ass is if Will Smith got up, went on stage, and took the mic from Chris Rock and said, "That's too far," we would be coming. We would be coming all over. Everybody would be going, "Oh my God, Will Smith is such a fucking... He's so sexy defending his wife without resorting to violence. Oh, fuck." They would be fucking pounding. Our cocks would be calloused. It would be like that scene in True Blood where Jason drinks the True Blood and he jerks off so much that he has like a fucking engorged purple fucking cock and his hands have calluses. That's what would have happened. Okay? That's what we'd be shitting and farting and coming. If he had just walked up and respectfully and fucking sternly said, "Don't do that again," we would be shitting on the toilet. It would be incredible. Isn't that fucking... That's insane. Nobody would be being like, "Oh my God, he's just an angry black man." Shut the fuck up. Nobody would be saying that. Everybody would be praising him. We would be on here and I would have been like, "Oh, I saw the Oscars last night and Will Smith did this thing and like I think it's great." I would have said personally, I think it was just a joke and it's not that big of a deal. However, like that's like he had every right to set that standard. That's what I'd be saying right now. He had every right to set that boundary. But that's not what happened, you stupid fuck. And one that black women are more prone to. Is that true? Interesting. Are black women more prone to... I spelled alopecia incorrectly. That's an interesting thing. Yeah, apparently it said, this is the words it says. Afro hair has greater propensity. It's probably a racist. I guess black women do have, I guess black people in general have greater propensity for developing hair loss. Okay, that's fine. Fair enough. Whether or not Rock knew about Pinkett Smith's condition, the politics of black women's hair is well known to be a historical fraud and often traumatizing topic. He should okay. He should know he made a documentary about it in 2009. Okay. Again, he may if we're gonna go with the understanding that he is aware of her alopecia, he would also know that she said that she's not upset about it and she jokes about it. Bro, I'm gonna read this. I'm just trying to communicate the disconnect. Are you black, first of all? Papaga, the way that black community views violence is very inflammatory because of the general trauma okay. Holy shit, I can't read. The way the black community views violence is very inflammatory because of generational trauma that we're trying to address as a community. I'm not validating the people that feel that Will Smith did nothing wrong because Will Smith deserves consequences for that. Trying to provide insight to why it's such a touchy and complex subject. Is deeply rooted. Are you trying to say that there's a disproportionately high amount of violence in the black community? I don't understand what the fundamentals of your point are. I'm not even agreeing or disagreeing. I'm just trying to get you to try to tell me what you're trying to say. I'm just fucking stupid. It's not your fault. I'm just I'm not understanding exactly what you're saying. Okay. So still, this kind of punching down on black women remains typical of many black male comedians who, like the rest of the world, don't see black women's struggles and experiences as real or legitimate. This is fine. If you made an article about this topic in general without justifying the hitting, which is effectively what you're doing, that would have been a fine point to make. But you're also justifying the hitting. And this lack of care for black women also partly explains why people were so taken aback by the image of Smith standing up for his wife in that way. Not at all. He fucking committed violence. The world is so used to seeing black women as untrustworthy of being protected and fought for that it can't see any merit to Smith's actions or emotions that spurred them. So I understand that historically black women have been seen as more masculine. Black women, in general, tend to be a little thicker, and that goes along with black women are more masculine. They don't get the same white women are seen as these innocent fucking maidens in distress, and black women tend to be seen as more masculine and taken less seriously when it comes to doctors. But at the end of the day, well, let's remove the black aspect of it. Jade is kind of a fucking asshole. I've seen the conversation. She's horrible. Nothing to do with her being black. She's just terrible. Right? What did she cheat on Will Smith and that turned into an open relationship? Right? She sucks. Maybe people are looking at it through the lens of she's an asshole. You ever think of that? Maybe she's just individually an asshole that cheats on her husband and then forces him into an open relationship. I don't know. Am I the asshole? Yeah, with her son's 23-year-old friend. Incredible stuff. Fucking incredible. And then the way that she defended herself, she's it was an entanglement. It's an entanglement. She slept with Jaden's best friend after helping him with mental illness. Incredible. Sounds like if that's true, then isn't she guilty of taking advantage of somebody that's in a lessened mental state? She wants to complain about disabilities, but she took advantage of somebody apparently with a disability. I don't really know if that's true, but if it is, Jesus Christ. Smith has since apologized to Chris Rock at the Academy. I think that it was a disingenuous apology. At the Academy, he justified it, saying things like, love makes you do crazy things. I don't think it was genuine, but okay. And this event will soon become just another wild story in our pop culture memory. But as we wait the results of the Academy's investigation, what I hope will remain is the opportunity to truly question how society views black men, what we see as a disability, and who we see as worthy of protecting. You don't need to hit people to protect them. Hot take. I know. I'm well aware. We have a small... Okay, this is a donation thing. I'm not going to donate any money. Give me... Here. Let's see. I have another amount that I'd like to that I'd like to do. Single time, another amount. Okay. Let's see. How do I... All right, it doesn't show my information. I want to donate negative $100. You should pay me for having to watch that. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and another special shout out to all my Patreon and Twitch subs. If you'd like to support this channel further than you already have by just watching the video alone, go down to the links below where you can sub on my Patreon, which will allow you to get your name on this beautiful black wall. Or you can go to the Twitch page and you can actually use a free Amazon Prime sub, if you have Amazon Prime, to subscribe. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.